All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Human Resource Committee meeting Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. I call to order. Okay, any declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none. Adoption of the minutes, meeting July 4th, 2023. Okay, Councilor, second. Second by Terry. Any business arising from those minutes? Hearing none. Okay. And any discussions on the floor?
Yep, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry, we have one.
Mr. Chair, I keep asking about this, is the KPMG report. I know that the CAO talked about it at the last meeting, but I'd like to, I don't think this committee ever reviewed the findings of the KPMG report. Just to go over it, to give us a Cole's notes on it. We received it and that was it. And I brought it up at the last meeting. I'd like to get just an oversight or just an overview of what was recommended, like the two directors, just other things that were in that report. KPMG has a substantial, stellar record when it comes to looking at organizations, human resource organizations like ours. So just want to put that out there, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Is there anything specific you were referring to? I mean, we received the KPMG report.
Yeah.
There was recommendations in there from a staffing perspective, some of which we have already moved on with through our budgeting process.
Yeah.
And so is there anything specific
Yeah,
that you want to
I'd say that the two directors, I know we're looking at three directors. The community engagement assistant, we keep bringing that up, so that could be wrapped around, and I know it's on the agenda.
So that would, okay, so you want an update, are you looking for an update on the director positions?
Director positions and just some of the finer points in the KPMG report on how to better streamline the organization for the years to come.
I think, if I may add to that, I think probably where it's coming from is, so we have the KPMG report, and then there's rumors about other hirings and which is not part of the KPMG report. I think we're trying to piece the two of them together. What is the future plan in the city here for hiring and compare it to what the KPMG report says? Yeah.
I think we also note, from my recollection of the report, that the report was a roadmap / recommendations on positions that the city could or should embark on. So I don't think there was anything specific that, if we're referring to some other positions that may have come out that weren't identified in there, I don't think that was a report that said we must have these positions outside of any other positions that get noted as we as the operations move forward. Sue, who's in place here today of our CAO, would you like to comment on that? Not to put you in the spot.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through to the mayor. With respect to the report, I don't want to speak for the CAO, but just from my conversations with her with respect to the KPMG report and how we would move forward with it, I think it was her intent that in reviewing the report when she came on board, she felt it was more of an administrative tool than a governance tool, that at the end of the day, there was very little of that was actually related to governance pieces that would require council review and endorsement, and it was more about administratively how we would move forward, and that if anything was going to have any kind of budgetary implications to the corporation, it would be vetted through the budget process. And that was the reasoning, I think, behind not tabling the report in its entirety, that it was more of an administrative resource than anything.
Thank you, Sue. And I think that's the understanding as the chair that I had as well. But again, we can revisit that if that's necessary to bring that back up. But nonetheless, I think
I'm not sure that was my understanding. My understanding was KPMG was going to do a report and make recommendations on hiring for the city of Charlottetown moving forward. What I'd be afraid of, and what I'm hearing here, is we got part of a report, we didn't get all the report, because some of it's considered administration, and yet we're hearing rumors about more hiring beyond what the KPMG report said. And I'm not sure. I mean, rumors are rumors. I'm just hearing. I haven't seen a piece of paper that's saying this is the future for hiring. That's where I, Mr. Chair, would be a little confused of what's one saying. And like any report, I mean, we accepted the report. Doesn't mean it's a guide. But for me, I guess from my understanding, I'd like to know what are the future plans for hiring in the city of Charlottetown, compare that to the KPMG report, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm just making notes here. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, just to close this issue, it's an 87-page report, and as was said by our Director of Community Services, that, you know, it's an operational issue, but in the end, it will come to a point where we'll have to add additional funding, and where we get that additional funding for more staff, you know, either we raise taxes or we cut services in other areas. I'd like to find that out before it gets to the budget process. That's what I'm saying. And I understand where the director's coming from. I just want more information. There's a lot in this report, and it covers all the departments, so I enjoy, you know, I like that idea that it covers a lot more than just city administration. It's water and wastewater, public works. So that's why I want more information now instead of waiting until February or March. Thank you.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Okay, moving on. That was under discussions. Resolution to move into a closed session as per section, as per section 119, one subsection, D, a human resource matter. Okay, do I have a second? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back into an open session. We're live here now, folks, back into an open session. So we're going to move on to the next session, which is reports. So we have one report, which is the Community Engagement Assistant Report, HR 0209-2023. Emily, would you, hey, Sue, would you like to address that report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just having to reboot here. But there has been a lot of conversations in the last several months with respect to the community engagement assistant position that once was. And then there was all kinds of restructuring done under the duration of the interim CAO with respect to assignments on communications and different kinds of engagement activities in the corporation, including the two positions that are in the mayor's office. So before you today is my attempt to revisit all of the job descriptions that relate to that former position to see where the different duties and responsibilities reside now. And just to be more direct, because I know that we're probably running out of time for the meeting today, but essentially what it says in that exercise and in that report is that we really don't have any work left to warrant that position being returned to the fold at this point in time. And for the most part, the engagement pieces that the elected members rely on with respect to newsletters and those types of things can be facilitated through the mayor's office with support of a communications department that we have like fully staffed now. We have a senior communications officer in place, we have a communications officer, and we have a comms coordinator, and we have 2 people in the mayor's office. So between those 5 positions, we have ample support for this kind of work. So that's in essence what I'm trying to say without having my report in front of me.
And
Thank you, Councillor Bernard.
thank you. And I thank you, Director Sue. I agree with you. I think there was a number of positions revamped. And one thing I keep going back to, and I think Sue alluded to it, but another piece there is there's $3,000 per councillor to be able to do newsletters or meetings or what have you. So I think all the resources are there. And I'd want to, this particular position, I'd want to tread carefully because I think some people are under the impression that somebody's going to go do a newsletter for them, and that person's going to go deliver it for them, and that person's going to go book recreational halls, and they're going to book all kinds of stuff for meetings. There's certain things that the staff's responsible for, but there's certain things that elected officials are responsible for. And for me, this is one of the things that elected officials are responsible for. And I know there was questions on the floor here during some meetings about getting the word out on certain meetings that are coming up, planning meetings, what have you. And again, I refer back to the newsletters and the money that's in the budget there for the newsletters. I know personally, I've always done it. So if there's letters only going to 100 meters and I feel it's a community issue, then I'll get newsletters done up. The city pays for them. I'll have them delivered and then everybody knows about the meeting. So I think, Sue is right. There's a number of people to help. If you need help putting a newsletter together, whatever, they have staff here to help you do that. So anyway, that's my 3 cents worth. I think everything's covered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bernard. I have to concur with what you said. I think that there is many supports that are being provided to the council here in various forms. Maybe, Director Sue, maybe your report addresses what some of those services are, and if it doesn't, then maybe that is what we need. Because I think some of the debate comes around, like what services, even if there was a community engagement officer and we decide to bring that person back in any form, I still ask the question, what would they do for me? So I think if that service is, if whatever that would be, if it's a list of 10 things and those 10 things are already being done and serviced in here, I think that's fine, and we need to know that. So I think if there is some perception of a gap in service that's not being provided, and then of course it comes back to, the reality of certain things that can and can't be done. Like I said, like would there be an example? Would there be an expectation that community engagement officer be somebody who would go deliver the flyers for you? I don't think that's a realistic expectation to have. But if that is an expectation that someone has, so I think having a clear list of, and I know myself personally, I used the mayor's office for some flyers that were delivered by myself, door to door, beyond the 100-meter thing. I think that is the role of the councillor if I want to be, present and active in my ward to do that and make sure people are informed. And, there's other mechanisms, but that's what you do. So I appreciate the services that are being provided. If they're all being covered, I think that's great, and we can move forward with the service. That like it was 6 or 7 different people in the thing that you notified at one time, Mayor, that are providing that. So thanks for Sue for that. So if you could circulate that, is that for circulation for us, or?
Are you referring to
point.
the report or
Yeah,
the list
the
of
thing that you
things
did up, and then, at the very least, for the list of things, can we get that circulated to council members at the very least? Like, here's what the mayor's office can do, and whether it's, creating this, doing that, if.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, just to make it clear, Sue, I'm sure you're quite aware of it. Jackie McKinnon and Sherry Boucher are executive assistants to the office of the mayor and council. It's just not up the office of the mayor, so I want to make that clear. Plus, we have now Jessica Bradley working with us. We have Janice Fogarty, Rob McDonald. Like, we have a lot of areas covered through public relations, and those individuals, along with the office of the mayor and council, can assist with, putting together a framework for a brochure, and it's up to the councillor or his or her supporters in their constituency to help out with the distribution. But again, Mr. Chair, I agree. We have lots of supports there, and they're more than willing to step up and provide assistance. Thank you, sir.
So, sorry, Councilor Bernard, just want to finish with Sue. Sue, can you address, the question was, can we provide a list of do you have it defined, like printing brochures, like the different services that are provided? Did you have it like that?
No, actually, just to be clear, Mr. Chair, in the report, I spoke to the fact that the only item, after having gone through the exercise of looking at all the different job descriptions, the only apparent work left unassigned is the writing of newsletters for the 10 councillors and coordinating public information in wards where required. That's the only piece of work that is not covered off right now, but the communications department has indicated that they might be prepared to, if it's something that the council really wants as a whole, they would look at, because we have an annual report that goes out usually around springtime. And if the council was interested, we could look at doing like a fall supplement where we have something that breaks out per ward, the highlights of what's happened in each ward over the past 6 months, that type of thing, so that we have a reporting to all of our electorate twice a year instead of just once a year. So that's something that we were prepared as staff to put on the table for consideration of council. But with respect to your list, essentially, you'll see in the report, the community engagement assistant, all of the different primary functions and accountabilities are all things that are being done now by staffers. And if you have an ask, you would go to the mayor's office for advice either from either of the two staff there as to who's the best person to provide me with support for XYZ, and then it would be quarterbacked from there.
So essentially what you're saying is the description of the community is, just use that as the list of the things that are there. Okay, perfect, thank you. So maybe we'll be circulating that around so that the council has a good understanding, and maybe some have already tapped into some of those services. I know myself personally I have, and I'm sure others have. Okay, thank you.
So
Councillor?
sorry, just to close the process out though, Mr. Chair, because of the fact that your committee is a recommending body, you'll still have to advance this to council to get their support, to get the full council support for the staff recommendation. If this committee agrees with the staff recommendation, we still have to advance it through council to ensure we have everyone's buy-in to this recommendation.
Okay, so.
Mr. Chair?
Yep, Councillor
question.
Bernard?
But this was just a request that came to this committee, and the committee reviewed it, and we're taking the staff's recommendation. So does it, Sue, could it not just be part of the minutes? It's not something I don't think that has to be voted on. It was a request by one person to come here. We looked at it, senior management reviewed it, they come back with their answer. That would be part of the minutes.
The issue, I think, Mr. Chair, through to Councillor Bernard, I think for the purposes of process, there will probably be debate on the council floor on that, and you'll want to have consensus that, that the position remain unfunded. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming back up.
Okay.
That's my thinking on
Yeah,
it.
just get it, yeah, okay.
So are you suggesting a resolution be put forward?
I do recommend that,
So do
Mr. Chair.
we have to agree here on we have to agree on that, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going resolution.
Motion here?
Okay, Mr. Chair, just on that, on the legislative requirement for this effort, this question was brought up on this floor, in this chamber, and it can be reflected in the minutes. If a councillor wishes to put a motion on the floor, he or she can do that. That's what I'm suggesting. Because this is a discussion, like, when we start getting into positions of who should be hired, that means Emily will have to wait for council to make a decision. Okay, now they want to hire I'm just saying that just as a process, Sue. It's not about, it's only adding to the debate of, do we really want to get into this, or is it just part of the minutes? I think it's just part of the minutes, and if a councillor wishes to, just as you said.
No, I do.
Again, again,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, through to the mayor.
Yeah.
I just consulted with the HR manager, and she agrees that this would be an acceptable process,
Yeah.
to not have it go to resolution, and if it's brought to the floor and someone wants to make it into a resolution.
Let them do it.
From your minutes, then they could do that.
Okay, I agree with that. We'll do that, because I think we've had the discussion many times. Keep coming back with the
It's the
same
cleanest
answer
way.
each
It's the cleanest
time.
way, yeah.
And I think your report is just putting out more clarity around that, that in fact, the services that the community engagement officer or officers would have provided under being another physical body is already being done by 6 or 7 other persons. So it's being filled. So I don't see what we're losing here at the end of the day. So, okay. All right, so I agree to leave it in the minutes for now, and then we'll see if it goes there. Okay, thank you very much, Sue, for your report. And I think that ends our report, and we are looking to motion to adjourn. Or, all good.
Thank you very
Very
much.
much, everyone.